Good morning. Thanks for tuning in. Just wanted to give you a little bit of an update as far as how to create some buyer advantage. This is just an incredible market for a seller. But if you're a buyer, you're in a really tough spot. We just put a house on the market day before yesterday, and that evening I had over a full price offer on it. And then within the 24 hours, we had 4 offers with 2 more coming, but we already had an offer that we had several offers worth accepting. And I really felt bad for the buyers, and it's not a position you want to be in. But how do you create some advantage so you make sure that your offer sticks out? We put another house on the market yesterday afternoon, and by last night we had a offer presented on it that was over asking price as well. Again, it's not my favorite kind of market because I like a market where everybody wins, and this is unfortunately not one of those. But I want to give you some advantages if you are trying to buy now that will help you to make sure that your offer gets accepted without having to overpay. Also, if you do work with us, even in this market, we don't want you to overpay, and we will do everything we can to give you the advantages so you're not having to. So how do you create that buyer advantage? Everyone's heard the idea of, writing a letter to the seller and giving them some poor sob story about little Beth Ann who can't go into the yard without it being fenced, and she just loved her bedroom and she was crying when she left the house, and that stuff's just too much. There is some advantage to a letter of that sort, but just make sure it's not one of those that's dripping wet from tears when you open it, but something that is more realistic for you, such as, what is the seller situation? Do they have a benefit by you allowing them to stay into the home maybe a week or 2 or even up to a month? If the monthly payment for you is only going to be $1,000, $1,500, wouldn't that be worth getting the house just to make sure that you got the house of your dreams, even if it cost you another $1,000, maybe $1,500 for the first month, to let them stay there for free? And then that takes out a lot of stress for the seller, who doesn't know necessarily that your loan is approved until maybe a day or 2 before the closing actually occurs. So how do they know that they are safe in moving all of their contents out of the house and that the sale is actually going to occur? Well, when you give them that extra week, 2 weeks, or even up to a month, that gives them that assurance that they are not moving in vain and having to move right back in. Another advantage would be to make sure, of course, that you have your lender get you a solid pre-qualification letter. Some lenders will write these letters just with very little pre-qualification, but in this kind of market, as agents representing the sellers, we are asking more in-depth questions. Have they pulled a credit report? Have they done any verification of employment? How in-depth have they gone up to this point for this loan approval period? So make sure that you get your lender to go as in-depth as they possibly can, so they can give the listing agent some more assurance rather than, they told us they earn this much, they told us that they're making this much money and they owe this much money. That is not worth the paper it's written on. But one that is more in-depth with more detail and further into the process will assure the seller that this is a contract that will close. We are actually working with a lender who will actually make the call to the listing agent that has your home listed and assure them of a closing date and guarantee it. And that way he can answer questions directly. That is another way to get a major advantage. Actually, that's Bruce Dodd with People's Home Equity is able to call the listing agents, and he has relationships with several of them that they know him, know that he's good about his word. One of the things that's really important is just to make sure that you have a local lender. There are lenders on the internet, and the problem that the listing agent is going to have in communicating with them is that they don't have someone local. If there's documentation missing that they're looking for, you can walk that over across town or wherever. Whereas if you have to fax it, email it, whatever, or even mail the documents so they have originals, The problem there is who knows how long it will be before someone actually picks it up, when actually if they're local and in town, you can actually hand them the documentation and ask, is there anything else that you need? It helps the process go a lot smoother, and that way the agents are not having to call 800 numbers to get information that sometimes may take, hours to get, as opposed to going face to face with a local lender. That is a major advantage for you as a buyer. And remember, the listing agent has a lot to do with you getting your offer accepted. So they need a certain confidence that if they're responsible for following up on that loan, that they are going to be able to have that easy communication. You need to make sure you have an agent that's not too pushy. If I have an agent calling me and asking me about their offer when we've got multiple offers coming in, and asking, or they're, don't understand that I can't reach the seller, that the sellers are at work, or actually I have one in the hospital right now. I can't reach I can reach my seller, but they're in no condition to make a decision. So if I have an agent that's contacting me and pushing and getting aggressive with me, I don't want to work with that agent, and the seller isn't either, because they're going to be the same way with them. So you need an agent that's going to be pushy enough, but not so much over edge. The other part, of course, similar to the first, is you need someone that's easy to get along with, because they will be driving the buyer side of the transaction, and if it's difficult to communicate with the agent, there can be all sorts of fumbles throughout the transaction. The other part is they've got to be experienced. You need an agent in a market like this that knows all the pitfalls in order to help you avoid them on the front end, and help you to stack your offer in such a way that is attractive, and the sellers actually are jumping up and down to receive your offer. Thanks for listening, and please subscribe to our YouTube channel, and I'll catch you next week.